Good morning. So, it's been a little while since I've been in Flight Simulator, and that's because the last update for version 19 gave me nothing but crash to the desktop, so I couldn't actually play the game. I removed the two added planes that I added, the F-22 and the Airbus helicopter. Still no luck, so I don't know what it was, it just didn't want to work. Finally, with version 20.6, I'm back in, and we're going to try a little bit of a screwy operation here. Now, what we're doing is we're taking an A320, we're taking off from Zurich where I landed, we're taking off to the north, and heading south down in towards the Alps at LSGS. It's going to be a bit of a funky approach because I'm running low altitude airways, and we'll look at the nav log in a minute here, and we're going to basically come into the Alps from this bit of a valley. And then we've got a hard left turn. I'm not sure how the flight plan is going to look in reality, but we come down past the runway, heading downwind, downwind, and then we turn back around in a U-turn and come back up the valley. So I don't think, honestly, that at this downwind leg, I'm going to be able to be all that low. I know this isn't like the peaks of the Alps, but these are still pretty tall mountains in this, what looks like a glacial valley. These are clouds over the mountains, so these look to be fairly tall, so I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to get this big plane turned around in there and then drop down. So we'll see. I may have to come off autopilot and fly around, but this is the default approach that it's set up for me, and I kind of wanted to give myself a little bit of a challenge here. This does not look like a very big airport, so I don't know how many of these larger airplanes would actually fly into it, but this should be interesting, should be a bit of a fun flight. So let's jump in and see how it goes. And I forgot before saying that I would check the nav logs. You can see here, while I am in low altitude airways, it does take me up pretty quick. I cruise for a little bit at 16.7, and then I start dropping down. And this is where I'm getting worried, because these two, that's a pretty lofty drop. Now I know I can get the plane to fly slow enough, so I think I'm not going to, once I really start descending, keep the plane moving all that fast so that I can descend pretty fast, and hopefully I can float this sucker in if I can remember how to prime the slats this time. So now let's jump in. Alright, so on my map, I don't know if you could tell, but it was starting to turn morning, and here in the game it doesn't really look morning. So alright, now that thing's stopped talking, one thing, last time I flew in the early morning, the lights at everything were broken, so London City Airport did not look good. It is good to see that the lighting systems appear fixed, so I can actually see things again, so that's very good. Good. Figured he would catch it just enough to get me around that truck, who's probably a little nervous right now, but this will help get me ready to turn. Alright, and while he's doing that, I need to get my plane ready, because we are going up to 12,000. That is not at all the button I want. Alright, let's get a move on. So, I noticed a couple of oddities here. When I first loaded in, there was a couple moments of stutter, but once everything got moving, my frame rate was around 50 to 60, and now that I've cranked up the lighting and I'm taxing, I'm not doing bad, so I'm not overly complaining. I'm at currently 26 to 28, so averaged out at 27 FPS. Considering this is a 5K display and all that stuff on a 1080 Ti. But it does seem rather odd that I would drop from that high to that low. I know there's a lot more in lighting effects going on right now because I'm doing morning, I've got sunrise, I've got the clouds, I've got these other aircraft, and the ground illumination is actually working properly, whereas last time at London City, it was not doing its job properly. So I think that might be impacting some of this. It's just a little disheartening to see it drop so much when a few things kick on. All right, full throttle here. Ooh, we are drifting a bit. Is that wind or is there something else going on? Because wow, I'm pulling hard left. I'm going to do some pretty decent compensation here to keep the plane going straight. That's kind of interesting. Okay, we're getting ready for liftoff. Okay, gear in. Why is it not climbing? I seem to actually be going down here. What is this delay? Seriously, my altitude is not going up. Okay, I don't care what you say. I need to gain altitude. That is bizarre. So I don't know if that's a actual autopilot issue or if something I did wrong. I'm not above 210 knots yet, dingle. Alright, now let's fire the autopilot on. Where is he taking me? Alright, yes, now that he appears to actually be maneuvering my aircraft, why can't I look around the cabin? Alright, we need to get the landing lights off, turn off the nose, kill the runway turn lights, strobe beacon is on. No smoking, I'll let you guys move out the cabin early just because I am nice. Okay. Let's have a look-see around Zurich. This should be a short flight. When we start getting closer to the Alps and my left turn to head base, we'll come back on. I am still quite nervous about the autopilot, especially on that takeoff. I think it was trying to slow me down because I was still going fast, but it should have just pulled up because I was losing altitude. And if I hadn't jumped in to take control, I would have tailed out on the ground beneath me because the ground was rising and I was not. So I'm going to check in on that. Anyway, we'll see you when we get closer to the Alps. So interesting. This is the default direction that it gave me when I assigned this airport, but in looking at the approach lines, I wouldn't be landing on this side. I mean, I can see landing lights, I can see the arrows. This is the direction. This is where all the landing would be, and they would probably take off in the same direction, though I bet they could go the other way. Yeah. This is not right. So I'm curious why the game forced me this way. I don't know. A big plane like this, yeah, it would do it. It could fly down this valley. Alright. I'm just talking out my butt. Oof, look at that road. Oh my goodness. Gorgeous. Now where are you taking me? Flight director off. Yeah, sorry dude. You're like trying to turn me back on my runway. And I can't have that right now. Right now, I just need this plane to descend nice and slowly. Because I gotta come around and land this sucker very carefully. Okay, I really can't come down anymore. Bit high on the thrust there, but I need to slow my descent so I don't get the terrain yelling at me. I think to a degree I'm cutting it a little closer than normal. I certainly wouldn't be right there, but I gotta make a hard turn and I need to give myself enough room to descend. I'd almost like to fly up here and come around there and then suck down the valley, but I'm gonna just try to bank here in front of this, make a descending turn, which is why I'm glad I have 3 monitors for this, because I can see all the way over there from this angle. Okay, I'm gonna start beginning my turn. Nice and slow. Landing lights are on. Right. Yeah, I'm not trusting you anymore, Mrs. Game. So that's a mountain going off my view, which makes me a wee bit nervous. Especially considering the airport's down there, but I think we'll be okay. We're gonna be clear now. We're still on a slow downward descent. We've got plenty of room on the throttle. Should be coming up over those mountains here now. Gonna start banking more, not loving the sun going away. Okay, now we're finishing our descent and our banking turn. I don't think this... No. Yeah, I was afraid of that. Busy looking at something else. We're slowing down slowly. There's my landing strip coming up. Okay, my throttle should start dropping now. Drop my gear. Okay, my throttle is now really starting to drop. Okay, we're good on speed now. I need to drop it so I can lower the flaps again. I want to start floating this sucker in because I gotta turn. Wow, this is really cool. This must be a nerve-wracking place to fly in and out of. Need some high-skilled pilots. And this isn't even the worst airport out here. I'm just not used to flying manually. And I will say that thus far, this plane has handled beautifully. No, shut up, lady. Next level of flaps. Okay, I need some throttle back in. Once we get around this peak to my left, I can turn it a little more. Get lined up with my runway. Wish I could see my wing. Oops, nope, wrong one. Okay, pappi lights say I am too low. Well, I also am trying not to die. Yeah, I'm gonna fall way short. You need to go there. Thrust that, that's about right. Drifting a bit. Wow, this thing brings me in high. No. Lady, I'm trying to land at an airport here. Okay, I'm having a hard time seeing here. Yeah, now I'm too high. So this thing really wants a hard flare. Ooh, lag. Ooh, super. Ah, that choppy lag out. So most of my approach was in the 30s. Most of my flight was in the 40s once I got up to altitude. But now that I got close to the runway and everything else started loading in, oof. I got hit with a big lag spike there. I was trying to drop down, so I nosed forward a little bit to expedite my descent, trying to follow the pappi lights and stuff. Anyway, so I was trying to nose forward a little bit to bring the plane down so I could do a bit more of a flare. I started to pull back, but then the whole thing just lagged and I didn't pull back in time. So I ended up not really flaring, so I hit the ground a little bit harder than I would like. and as a result, I hit the ground a little bit hard. Yeah, this airport's not designed for a big guy like me, but definitely this plane can handle it. Let's get the slats off while I cause a traffic jam here. That was a lot of fun, other than the computers kind of having a bit of a flip out and a problem handling what I was doing. Runway was beautiful. The approach was a lot of fun. I think for flying almost all of that approach manually, I did a good job of keeping the plane in reasonable banks, overall reasonable descents. I did have to fix my throttle a little bit when I got by this mountain because I was trying to align the runway and I didn't realize that I had stopped adjusting my throttles. And that meant that there was going to be a bit of an issue when I got closer, because I was basically just going to hit the runway, which I believe I called out. I was going to fall short, so I got that fixed, and then I kind of got off course a little bit, fixed my course, and then I was having issues seeing the runway, and I was trying to follow the pappi lights, but couldn't quite see them for a bit because they were telling me I was too low, so I tried to stay high, and it kind of wants you to drop down in, which a bigger airliner like this can do, but really not the normal way of flying some of these unless you're a super skilled pilot. And I am not. I know there's some other crazy airport approaches that they fly larger aircraft like this into. Been to one of them in the game, one of the most famous ones. We'll see about maybe going there at some point in the future, but that was definitely an interesting challenge, and I must say, a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed that. I love the way Switzerland looks, and I really cannot wait to do that again from potentially a different airport and have some other fun, because this plane is just a joy to fly, and being able to fly it manually like that really was good. I'm not going to say it was great, because compared to a lot of other players or professional pilots it was crap, but for me and the way the game usually and has a history of operating for me, that was really good. I was able to maintain full control of my airplane. At no point did I feel like I had no control. Even with a bit of a breeze, even with throttles and doing everything kind of on my own, I managed to get the plane down fairly well. The only thing was a bit of a lag out there at the very end where it kind of got choppy and I lost my flare, and then because of that I was going a bit too fast when I hit. I hadn't bled off any speed in the flare, and so I started to take off again with just the speed I was going. So that's the only fallback. But otherwise, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.